All right, we about to be on. I'm gonna take it at 7:35. That's when I'm gonna start timing it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Just to give us some buffer space. All right, cool. We on this. We on. All right, everybody. Welcome. Welcome back to the Free Roots Project. Our freestyle edition. It's been a minute, man. I feel like it's been a month of Sundays. It's probably only been a half a month of Sundays, but welcome back, man. We definitely missed y'all. We missed each other. So coming to you live today, we're going to talk about colorism in the Black community. We're gonna touch on a lot of different topics. So I got my tried and true family right here. Let's be crystal clear. On my left, up in the top screen, and got the one and only the trap therapist at the bottom, holding it down, man. You know, everybody been working, everybody been grinding. We all got some new stuff we getting done, both business wise and personal wise. So, you know, it's just that. But you know, definitely want to welcome y'all back, and we gonna get straight to it. So we're gonna jump into colorism. Colorism is a topic that's been around for as long as Black folks have definitely been in this country, if not in other countries. And it seems like every other month or so, it rears its head in another form. Colorism is just one of those hot button topics that we can get into at the turn of any given hat. So go through the history of colorism in America first. The history of colorism takes place when during the transatlantic slave trade. Most of our ancestors came from Western Africa. Most of them, not all of them. Most of them came from Western, which gave them a darker hue, darker melanin, or more melanin, darker pigment. So as they were coming over to the Americas, to the Caribbean, to South America, America has never had an interaction with another group of people that didn't involve sexual assault. And that's us, that's Native Americans, that is Mexicans, that is, you know, anybody you want to name, America raped them. And, you know, that's just the flat out truth of it. And then let's also talk about what rape really is in totality. Rape is also, you know, violently brutalizing a person, you know, coming in a room, throwing them on whatever, you know, and, you know, forcing yourself on them. Rape is also coercion. A lot of times starving women who you held captive for food until they perform sexual favors, threatening to sell or beat their children or their husband for sexual favors. So how America likes to frame a lot of these relationships that our ancestors had with white folks, even though, you know, they might not have been kicking down the door, slapping them around, it was definitely still rape. Anytime you're owned by somebody else, you don't get to have the right to have free will and make your own choices. That is rape. Anytime sex is gonna happen in that regard, right? So I just want to get that out there, because a lot of white folks, a lot of white history teachers talk about relationships, and you know, I'm thoroughly convinced that only a fraction, and when I say a fraction, I mean probably point something percent of our ancestors had relationships, mutual, you know, understanding, love, affinity relationships with the people who own them. That just wasn't a thing. So as that happened, you get lighter skinned Black folks, you know, who are still very much Black folks, but they come out lighter skinned. And that diversifies our gene pool, or it rediversifies it, because white people actually came from us, if we're going all the way back to Africa. So it rediversifies that gene pool. So you get folks that look like me, you get folks that look like Crystal, you get folks that look darker, you know, and pigmentation isn't always a symbol of 100% authenticity when it comes to Africa. I got a homeboy that's fool's color who just did the 23andMe ancestry, whatever the fuck. That nigga Filipino and all kinds of shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? So that's a part of it too, and that's something we're gonna touch on later as your skin color being a measurement of your genetic authenticity. It's just not a real thing. So anyway, as we start to have lighter skinned Africans in America, the treatment of them start to differentiate, relatively speaking. And I say relatively speaking because we have this notion of the house slave and the field slave, that somehow the field slave had it worse than the house slave. The field slave had it different. They didn't necessarily have it worse. There were, to be a slave is still to be a slave. So to be in proximity of the mistress of the person of your father, or the mistress of your abuser, what that means, what kind of mental stress that is, what that details, what that looks like, what kind of expectations come with that. That's a whole different ball game. And though you may get better clothes every once in a while, and you may get to eat the scraps off the dinner table as opposed to what the field slaves ate, it's still very much an oppressive experience. So within that, though, what a lot of us didn't understand was we just saw a clear-cut difference. And so that's where colorism starts to become a genetic entity to a cultural phenomenon. And where we have it is you start to develop light skin privilege, and light skin privilege is really a thing. There are, once slavery ended, and we went kind of deeper into Jim Crow, white folks did have to readjust who would be an acceptable Negro and who wouldn't. And they had to figure out the basis of that. And one of the things they chose was skin color. So a lot of your earlier, more formally educated abolitionists were lighter skinned. When you look at Fu and I are both Omegas, Crystal is AKA. When you look at our founders, talking about light skinned folks, some brown skinned folks, we're talking about light skinned folks. So they had to create a black caste system. And so the thing they used was skin color. And so we have absolutely had experiences where you can benefit from your melanin, or you can or it can hurt you. And that's a real thing. And that's rooted in truth and experience. So what you have is, within our community, is this interwoven communal identity crisis of what black means, what black doesn't mean, and how it relates to the proximity of white folks. What you stand to benefit from it, what you can lose from it, and where it can take you, right? So within that, we pile all of our societal ills, be it racism, be it systemic oppression, be it poverty, be it criminal justice, the prison industrial complex, be it the educational complex. We pile all of those issues on colorism, and I don't necessarily think that colorism is a strong enough branch to hold all of that weight, personally, but that's what we like to do. And then when you factor in personal experiences, you have folks who love to tell what happened to them as a dark-skinned child, and folks who love to tell what happened to them as a light-skinned child. And then we start getting into the trauma Olympics, what I like to call it.
Yes, the oppression Olympics, boy.
Oppression Olympics, yeah. Who had it worse? Did the person they called white boy, did he have it worse, or did the motherfucker they called tar baby, did he have it worse? And let's argue in the shade room all motherfucking day about the shit. Right? So we seem to, and I've posted about colorism a lot, just because I think it's a topic we need to flesh through. I'll be honest and I'll say regretfully, I don't think we've gotten any further in the dialogue to healing ourselves from it than probably when we first started talking about it. So, hopefully this dialogue here can be a conversation where, I'm almost glad we probably won't have a ton of comments, because it can be a conversation where we can really flesh out ideas without maybe being triggered. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So so we will definitely hop into it. I'm gonna start something I want to talk about as being I want to talk about Black privilege. So you know, I think whenever I've said this before, and when I say it, people kind of look at me crazy. I'm about as privileged as you can get for a Black person, right? And it's a real thing. Like it's not, when people say Black privilege, you know, they always say, yeah, I mean, but you know, how much is it really? It's a lot. You know, I'm a man, one. I'm heterosexual, two. You know, I'm light skinned, three. You know, I grew up in a at least the upper middle class socioeconomic background, for, you know, I'm formally educated. Like if you go down the gauntlet of checking boxes, I really have everything that anybody could want, with the exception of being white, right? So you know, I had the fortune of growing up, uh being able to not be impressed by anybody white. Like it takes a lot to impress me, because you know, most of the people who I would know from, you know, just kid standpoint, your house wasn't bigger than mine, your parents didn't do what the fuck you know, my parents did. You know, they didn't have the money I motherfucking had. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't grow up needing to be in proximity to white people. You know, what, like being around white people didn't.
It wasn't nothing to it. It wasn't an attaining thing. It wasn't to attain. It was
exactly.
Like, yeah.
It didn't impress me. You know what I'm saying? At all. So but in knowing that, you know, the thing you have to do with privilege, and I tell anybody is that you have to use it to the greater good of your people, right? So I talk about colorism a lot because I want light-skinned folks to understand that, you know, whatever your personal traumas were, I'm not saying they're not real, I'm not saying they're not valid, but they're not systemic.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up, my mom's side, you know, I'm the only light-skinned nigga over there, right? So, you know, and I grew up, you know, fucking with hood shit. I grew up in the community center. I grew up, you know, wherever. So I got all the white boys. You know what I'm saying? like it didn't matter. Like, didn't matter how I talk, didn't matter none of shit. Like I got all the white boy stigma, right? But that's a personal experience. And that's valid. And that is some shit you need to fight through, and there's some shit you need to unpack, right? It definitely is. But it's not the same conversation as talking about systemic issues. It's a completely different thing. So when, like, there was nothing about me being high yellow, red, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that specifically excluded me because of my skin color. From a systemic standpoint.
Right.
Me being teased about being light skinned was just like a nigga being teased about having on the wrong shoes, or a motherfucker being teased about being musty, or a motherfucker teased about, you know, the nigga spilled water on his motherfucking pants and it looked like he pissed himself. Like it was to the same degree. But when you talk about dark skinned folks, you're talking about living in a world that literally goes out of their way to prevent them from doing stuff. And that's a completely different experience than childhood bullying, right? Or teenage bullying, or college, you know, whatever fuck you want to call it. So, you know, I want to get that out there, that we as light-skinned people need to learn how to differentiate our personal experience from our, you know, our systemic injustice that our darker skinned folks go through. Because food, you know, I'm sure, you know, you can talk about it on many sides, being dark and being African in America. So
yeah, I think, and it's interesting. Like, I think when you look at colorism specifically, when we talk about this in the context of the diaspora, like Black folks, colorism, I think, is one of our root issues, or one of our like root issues, and I think we see it manifesting its ugly head in different ways, like this caste system. So the idea that, you know, I look at, you know, especially going to historically Black college and university, something that I was introduced to is nepotism. in the Black community, or the idea of like you coming from like good stock or good genes. You know what I'm saying? What's your family lab? Who your folks is?
Who your people? Yeah.
Who your people, right? So I look at, we look at the pros and the cons of everything, but thinking about like how we actually vet amongst ourselves, amongst our own people, and what it looks like for people to basically like, word that you've said a number of times is how we posture. You know what I'm saying? Because of these things, because of, color, because of, of hue. And I think that's something that, has been interesting. Like my experience growing up on the south side of Atlanta, being around, Black folks, none but Black folks. So this idea that, a lot of my personal issues around color, because of a lot of us having the dysfunction in the home, our personal issues manifest publicly because now we take it to work with us. Now we take it to the blog rooms. Now we take these personal battles and we put them into our brands, into our platforms, and we put them in and we create these personas. Basically, we create, a lot of the fights that we have, and a lot of the things that I see from people is like it's rooted in personal shit. It's rooted in like things that they need to actually go sit with a therapist and work through, as opposed to taking it into like these public forums where we're talking about systemic issues. But I think that systemic shit for us is looking at, I like I said, I love talking about HBCUs, but the idea of how we, basically exclude. We include and we exclude based off of certain, social markers. You know what I mean? Are you married? Are you in a fraternity? Are you, do you have these things? And the pressures of doing that, for me, we joke about it a lot of times, but as somebody who looks the way that I do, presenting just the idea of, can I trust you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Naturally, I'm from Atlanta. Somebody grew up, I got goals in my mouth. It is like the idea of me being somebody who, if me and Mike walk into the same room, is like understanding that we really the same type of person, but from a book, you know what I'm saying? Like just off the jump, what type of welcome do we get? You know what I mean? How are we humanized? What do I have to do versus what Mike got to do? You know what I'm saying? And these are conversations that we can have because we're not attached to the pain of, you know what I'm saying, like the shit we went through or the things we go through with our skin. But I think that's the thing. Like, can we create a conversation that actually gets to the root of the issue? And then when we talk about systemic things, especially when we talk about like people who use their privilege, who use the color for good, you know what I'm saying? It's like, can we detach from our personal shit to see how we have to actually work in the world as all shades, all hues of Black? Like, I think that's the thing. Like, how can we actually like work together with this shit as opposed to everyone criticizing and judging people for how they work through their life experience?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Definitely. So what, like, I know for me, like when you talk about me and you walking into a room, I think the craziest thing, especially like when you're talking about being around Black folks and being around certain type of Black folks, I call them cranberry niggas.
Yeah.
Because growing up, I would have to go to these brunches and shit with like my pops, and like, and this back when like everybody wasn't really on that shit. And so like, if you was a bougie nigga, you drank cranberry juice. You ain't drink orange juice. You ain't drink water. You ain't drink soda. You was at brunch. You drink cranberry juice. Niggas wasn't on cranberry juice like that. Like now cranberry juice everywhere. Niggas wasn't drinking cranberry juice like that. So I call them cranberry niggas, but I grew up, and St. Louis is small. So I grow up, you walk into a room and everybody, it feels like the cranberry niggas want to pull you away from the niggas you walk into the room with. So, I know you, like you said, I know your people. I know you went to school. I know what you about, you know what I'm saying? Come over here with us. But I didn't. I had the fortune of being raised by parents who were also from St. Louis and from big families. And right or wrong, and they were both working. So as I grew up, I grew up with my people. So I'm getting babysat, I'm getting picked up after school. I go to this private school, but we going to the Cochrane, we going to the projects, like, cause that's where the fuck my people at. So that's where I grew up feeling comfortable. And this ain't to be like, to claim a hood. It's just like where I'm comfortable where my family is. Right. So like, I didn't leave school and then go to, some kind of affluent camp. My mom was like, nah, granny gonna come get you and I'll pick you up, you know what I'm saying, at motherfucking 6 o'clock. I'm like, all right, bet. So as they pull you, it's almost this interesting feeling of trying to separate you from other Black people. And it's the notion that there are better Blacks, right?
Yeah.
And that you have to meet certain thresholds to even be taken seriously, and moreover, to have your cause and your plight taken seriously, right? So you know what I'm saying. So if I don't even respect you as a person to be around me, how would I ever advocate for you to make sure you get what it is you need, right?
It's and man, you just hit on something, because I always, again, I go back to my HBCU experience. Again, being first generation African American, it like I was raised on the South Side, but I didn't have the Clark Atlanta Spellman Morehouse experience. Like it wasn't, my dad was a Q, my mama was, what I'm saying? It ain't the shit that my daughter got, right? You know what I'm saying? But we can tell them stories how we met on the yard. So the idea of you being introduced to new worlds of Blackness, for one. So this idea that now you have another level to aspire to, because this is what success looks like in these spaces. For me, in the spaces that my mom was a professor. So it's like I had, she was at a white school though. So the idea of what Black excellence feels like I had never felt it. So now you get into fraternity life. Now you get into these spaces of the talented 10th and the elite shit, right? So again, for me being a nigga that understand, like I'm a chameleon, so I understand, like I can't come into these spaces as the food from the South Side, food from Riverdale. I can't come into these spaces as that. But at the same time, my conflict is in that, like, I value all of those experiences because those experiences actually led me to here.
Right.
And everything about who I am, like I never felt the need to leave that, because that's exactly why I'm even here. So what I'm seeing now, and what a lot of my issue is now, when you look at this generation of students and kids, I believe that our culture is one where we're teaching these kids how to posture and look the part, but we're not teaching them how to actually take their intrinsic selves and then like fuse that into these so-called leadership spaces and spaces of the chosen ones. Because my issue is that now, like you said, because I have to posture so much, I've done leadership programs in the city. I've done, BizPac programs. But at the end of the day, now having to do that and wear it with my lake gaze, doing that without having, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's where the colorism, colorism to me is almost code for culturism now. Because we like to, like, it's just these barriers to Blackness. It's like, nah, you ain't Black enough, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you ain't Black enough. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you can't do that. You can't say that. You can't, you know what I'm saying? And so that for me, it goes back to like, again, us being those bridge builders, to where it's like, yeah, nigga, I've always felt that way. I was never Black enough for niggas, and Africans definitely didn't fuck with my Akata ass. Like, that just was some real shit. Like, it wasn't never a sense of that. So for me to be like, nah, I gotta be good with food. Like, I really gotta be good with food. Because my Black experience is my Black experience. But I think when we have these conversations collectively and publicly, motherfuckers get so in their feelings and get so goddamn personal with the shit that you can't talk forest if all you see is this motherfucking tree. You can't talk nothing big if you just so here with the, you know what I'm saying, with the personal shit. So I think that's our thing, is what, like, with the, I think, culturism, almost like us having to always fact check our Blackness against some status, some white standard, honestly.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because with Africans, it's funny, like Africans, when people talk about the conditioning, it's crazy being raised in the South and being in the deep South, especially in Alabama. But we talk about like that conditioning. I know it because I come from Africans who have been taught that African-American culture is trash. And that's a reality, like in some sects, in some spaces. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's real shit. So I'm not gonna act like that's not a real thing. Like, I come from that. Like, I've been raised by people. The difference is my people actually settled in the hood. Like, we actually had, my uncle, had a tire shop on Cascade for 20 years, right across from Beautiful. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been in the hood. Like, you know what I'm saying? We often Bowen homes. I grew up in Bowen homes. I grew up in spaces where a lot of Africans were afraid to go. With Black people, real niggas, like with niggas. It wasn't Black people, because Africans in Atlanta, they didn't stay in the city. They stayed in Lawrenceville, Douglasville, out in the woods. You didn't have a lot of us in the city, in the South Side.
That's deep.
So yeah, so this colorism conversation for me with us, we got bleaching creams over there. Like I got aunties who your color, but they ain't your color. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So the idea for me of how we have to posture to get to a place of acceptance, or like of saying like, okay, you've made it, you've arrived. I don't have to doubt your character. I don't have to second guess you. I don't have to judge you. Why is it that we have these white standards, and why do we hold so tightly to them in our pain and in our trauma? Like a lot of us have trauma around color, but it manifests in everything that we do and we don't even see it.
Right. And when I think about the whole aspect of colorism, what I mainly think about is the mental health of self-hate. And I think a lot of people don't realize that from that colorism stems from the self-hate. And, when I hear you two's story and, you guys are able to say, well, hey, I value myself enough where I didn't have to, whatever. But I think about the people who don't know how to love themselves, because all they're constantly hearing is hate from their culture, hate from the outside.
You a dirty nigga.
So all you know to do is now hate myself. You know what I'm saying? So they're constantly, people are constantly trying to feel like, well, where do I fit in? If, like you said, I'm not Black enough to do this, or I'm too light to actually fit in with this crowd, but then I can't really go over here to these other groups of people because I'm too Black for them. You know what I mean? And so then the person ends up just hating themselves. I think about, y'all know how I am about reality shows. I think about an episode on one of the Love and Hip Hop. I think it was Spice. She's like a rapper.
Spice is the Jamaican one.
You're right. Okay. And she did like a whole thing on colorism from her stance, and she ended up like putting on white makeup or whatever and did a blonde wig, because for her, she doesn't get the same type of respect and stuff as a light-skinned artist would. She doesn't get, you know what I mean? And that's true, you know what I'm saying? And you look at the different, like you said, it's systemic, and we don't realize that within our own culture, it's like we are the oppressors of our own people, you know what I'm saying? And so I think about how that just leads to people not even knowing their identity, you know what I'm saying, having identity crisis, because like you said, we go into bleaching ourselves. Like we see how that played out for Michael Jackson, you know what I mean, when his people are saying, and his people, our culture may have told him like, oh, you talk like this, or your voice sounds like this, and it's not in the tone of an African American, whatever. So now he's in this borderline of, well, where do I fit in? So let me try to fit in over here, you know what I'm saying? Because everything else about me might fit in with them, but then to them, I'm not the complexion. But you just go through a whole psyche thing, you know what I'm saying? Of technically like a mind fuck, where then you're just lost.
I think you gotta, the natural biological inclination of human beings is that we're social, and that, we're tribal, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing, we're like wolves. The first thing you want to do as a pup, as a kid, is figure out a way to belong to the pack. But our society is so contaminated and it's so toxic that I think one of the things that I can articulate now, but that I was kind of doing subconsciously or viscerally growing up, was figuring out that in order for me to be okay, I need to be about self first, and then I'm about Black. You know what I'm saying? So if you're about Black first, it's like you said, fool, they gonna run you ragged, telling you, you know what I'm saying? Like they gonna run you
what Black is,
what you need to do, what you ain't doing enough of, where you ain't been, who you ain't been with, what you ain't did. I'm saying whatever the fuck. And you got to get to a point where you like, fuck it, I'm gonna focus on what it means to be me first.
Yeah. Right.
Because at the end of the day, I'm me, because the Black is there. I'm born Black. I'm in a Black body. That shit ain't going nowhere. And so when I emerge out of the ground from like doing the work, I'm emerging out Black. But Black needs to mean like, what does it mean for me? Yeah. And I don't think a lot of us had the time or the space or the awareness to kind of figure that out. So we steady trying to chase what Black is. And like you said, we're gonna be running all over this motherfucker.
Yeah. And I think it's something, it's funny. Something you was talking, I just had like a glimpse of Malcolm X, and I'm thinking about like a lot of our heroes and the lead, like the Huey Newtons of the world, and individuals, who had different shades and different hues and came from different places. I think like we have to really kind of imagine what, you know what I'm saying, a world looks like where we are rooted in something that's not tangible. Because I think that's where that spiritual piece comes in at, because a lot of the conversations we want to have, you know what I'm saying, a lot of the things we feel are things that we haven't found the emotional, I think, intelligence to actually verbalize. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it rooted in our connectivity as melanated people, period. Right? No, regardless. And you know what I'm saying? I think the spiritual piece, if we can spend more time collectively as a people, I think giving more energy to the spiritual piece and how we can now, because what I've seen, the trend has become everybody spiritual now. Everybody outside of organized religion. But what we miss in a lot of that, and I know I just went here, but I think the colorism piece to me just speaks to a larger like divide that we were given, like amongst how we worship, right? You know what I'm saying? Amongst how we talk to God, amongst how we connect with our people and how we see God in each other. So if now I only recognize God in the things that are lighter hues, I only worship light-skinned women, I only can praise, you know what I'm saying? I can only worship the goddesses who fit the aesthetic that I fuck with. You know what I'm saying? Like that now, that got to be deprogrammed. Right. Because when you look at, you know what I'm saying, again, going back to the root of it all, it's like, no, we have to understand that if we're talking about how our ancestors did it and our standards of anything, of beauty, of success, of wealth, of happiness, of health, it does not look like what we have been birthed into. Period. Right. And it goes back to like the idea of us having an ecosystem where now we can actually benefit from, if we're going to talk about colorism, how are we using it, or how's it impacting us for the better? Because I look at a Beyonce and I look at her ability, you know what I'm saying? And somebody with her platform to be an artist that can do what she can do to actually educate people in the way that she can educate about things that these white folks wouldn't give the goddamn time of day. You know what I'm saying? So I can see, you know, even what you posted, like, you know, on the other side of certain arguments, you know, Mike, where you had posted that post about Beyonce and the person challenging, you know, her and the capitalist part about it. It's like, yeah, you could sit up all day and you can pick apart an artist and, you know, people with platforms and with money and what they do and how they work. But again, we're all under this same goddamn system. So either we're, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, how much time are we spending pushing shit forward versus trying to break down motherfuckers? Because I know that a lot of that critiques comes from the fact that those same people cannot see themselves in Beyonce. Yep. Right. If you can't see yourself in somebody, if you can't see yourself in your sister, your brother who's light skinned, who got the platform, who's doing their thing, if you can't show that same love and empathy for them and their plight, then you definitely you can't show no type of love for it or connectivity to it. So I think a lot of times that colorist shit, like when you look at especially artists, Azalea Banks, another one, crazy as hell, dark skin, but also always talks about like the plight between dark skin artists, light skin artists, and there's truth in everything. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's very telling for us to really go back to other lines of connectivity where it's like, nah, bro, we actually worship the same. We talk to God the same. We breathe the same. We dance the same. We move the same. We grew the same. We got our nonverbals are the same. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's some of the shit that when we talk about this colorism shit, I think Black people, we got to start to challenge ourselves more, you know what I'm saying, to really start to open up to the fact that like we are the original people, like we're like, you know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, you know what I'm saying? Like what are we actually doing? Like if there's a paradigm shift happening, then how are you actually collectively adding to the conversation and not, you know what I'm saying? Like using it to break shit down.
Yeah, and I think if you just kind of like sit back and if you were to just be observational about the people, like you said, who chose to kind of like say more of a negative aspect, like you said, like who are the people that's trying to hold us back versus pushing us forward, then you kind of can begin to observe their own, you know what I mean, with themselves. Because if you couldn't see anything but if you couldn't see the main goal of what Beyonce tried to do, which was the goal was to bring us back and for us to realize our skin color, everything is everything. We have so much power. And it's like, if people miss that message and choose to focus on so many other aspects, then that's part of the problem. You know what I mean? And I think what you said is absolutely correct, is because they then could not see themselves in that, you know what I mean? And that comes to a whole different other type of mindset. So I think it goes back to just learning, like how you said, Mike, is loving yourself as a person first, and then everything else is going to have to be second. Because if you're trying to love yourself as physical characteristics or anything that society tells you you're supposed to love yourself based off of, then you're gonna easily be swayed to end up hating yourself or hating other people that look like you.
Yeah. Yeah, we were in the comments. A young lady brought up a point. I've heard this point before, and I've argued about it. Because keep in mind, I ain't in nobody beehive. I ain't no motherfucking, enough money that came out this motherfucking house to where a motherfucker should be a part of the beehive, but motherfucker. But she, when I like her, I like her. When I don't like her, it's just she cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But somebody brought up this argument about they said that their issue is that she's all of a sudden black. And that as she was coming up, she wasn't about the shit she's talking about now. And I was like, well, you got to understand, when she was coming up, she was on the label. And so when as anybody, when you coming up in the real world, my nigga, you gonna work for other people.
You gotta
work for other people. Yeah. You're gonna follow orders, you're gonna take direction, you're gonna wear what the fuck they tell you to wear, you're gonna do what the fuck it is they tell you to do, you're gonna be how they tell you to be. When I was a front desk agent, I had a uniform. I had to wear a fucking shirt, a tie, or whatever fuck. I had to say, I had to say shit a certain way. And as I climbed up, I got more and more freedom. And when I got to be a general manager, shit, I wrote a rap playlist at the start of every week for my motherfucking staff. You know what I'm saying? Like I brought in yoga instructors. So I got to do what I wanted to do when it was my time to do it. Now I'm still the same nigga I was when I was a desk agent. It's just a function of what I could and couldn't do. Beyonce is on a label, G. So as she's coming up, doing her assigned duty, and then she gets enough leverage, gets enough freedom to get out of this shit. Now she taking her hair down, doing what the fuck it is she want to do. But how is it we can't see that in her, but the motherfucker who get up and go to State Farm every motherfucking morning, like we like, yeah, man, he just doing what he got to do. Well, she was just doing what the fuck she had to do. She wouldn't be here if she got out there, talking that Africa shit 15 years ago. We wouldn't have a platform.
We wouldn't know Beyonce.
We wouldn't have Disney. We wouldn't have Idol. We wouldn't have none of this shit.
Yeah, she'd be Lauryn Hill.
And she'd be Lauryn Hill. Exactly.
And that's part of what we're saying. The problem is we have our own people within our own group. And it's like, if that was the role she played back then, who cares? It's what she's doing now. It's what she's trying to teach us now. So my thing is, if worst, like not even worst case, if the scenario was, she wasn't, all about whatever back then, like, does she not have the opportunity to come into her own awakening?
She wasn't anti-black. It ain't like she was back then talking about, Republicans buy shoes too. Like she wasn't saying none of that shit.
She was an R&B singer, right?
Exactly.
And it goes back to the perspective. Exactly. We so fucking spoiled in America to be over here policing a motherfucking spiritual journey.
Yeah.
So what if Beyonce just found the fucking Orisha last year? So what if she just got there and came into this shit? Yep. She's a person with her own path to her own salvation and righteousness and God. And who the fuck are we she could be on whatever the fuck she want to be on because she's worked to get to that point.
And I think taking Beyonce as a good example of exactly what we're trying to say when we're saying our own community of people are the main ones who are the person, like you said, the police or the ones that are tearing us down. You know what I mean? Because I remember at one point in time, Beyonce was having a hard time because they were saying her hips were too wide. You know what I mean? Because she has to figure out how to try to make her stuff. And I noticed that in her last film, the Black is King Now film, where I realized she's accentuating her hips now. You know what I'm saying? And that's part of her walking into like, this is who I am. You know what I mean? And we never understand. We don't know people's personal struggles on their journeys. You know what I mean?
Beyonce is the Black Madonna, bro.
And it's like, but you're constantly trying to find something. I think about, how society being our culture tore her down about Blue Ivy's hair. And it's just like, you know what I'm saying? It's like an essential way you can't win for losing. You know what I'm saying? I got a husband now, but y'all dog him out. You know what I'm saying? Because it's his black feature. So it's just like, well, which one is it?
Beyonce ain't black enough, but she need to comb that baby hair. All in the same sentence. All in the same motherfucker. It's like you say, which one is it?
Yeah.
Which one is it? Is she not black enough, but she need to comb that baby hair? Like,
it goes
the most
back
anti-black shit you could say.
Yeah, but this goes back to the idea of Beyonce being your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Beyonce being your sister, Beyonce being your cousin. You other Beyonce, you don't humanize Beyonce. Beyonce is not a person, right? And I think that's a lot of our problem with and how colorism has manifested in our culture, in our society, that now the celebrity culture sees people not be people anymore, right? Now you have these people, even on Instagram, like, you know what I'm saying, little social media folk, models, and you know what I'm saying, all this shit. And you start to separate humans in that engagement, and we start to lose sight on people and what it looks like for people to just have their own journey and their own path. And I think that's some of the shit I think we got to get back to. And I think that's what's happening now is us breaking these barriers of class and the isms, you know what I'm saying, around, like, you know what I'm saying, how we separate ourselves, because it doesn't lend us to actually like love each other when we do this shit.
I think Beyonce is definitely Beyonce is the type of girl that everybody would hate in high school, right?
Facts.
And not even just aesthetically. Like again, Beyonce got her daddy, you know what I'm saying? Like 2-parent household, from growing up at least. He's well to do, she well to do. They straight, right? So and again, when you
she's a popular girl.
She's a popular girl, right? So it's a function of why do they always make it, quote unquote. And it's like I said, I'm not taking away, again, light skin privilege. I'm not taking away that her aesthetically fitting the mold has something to do with her success. I'm not taking that away. It absolutely had a role in it. If she looked like Mahalia Jackson, she wouldn't have been Beyonce, right? Absolutely. That's not her fault. And that's not the end all be all of why she is Beyonce. It still took a shit ton of work to get to that point, right? Moreover, now that she's at that point, she is centered around being inclusive to us completely as a people. But we can never get past looking at that chick we hated in high school. So no matter what Beyonce does, no matter like
she's gonna remind you of that person.
She could physically be responsible for giving us reparations, and niggas are gonna say it ain't enough. What you mean it's only 15,000? She got they billionaires. You know what I'm saying? So and like I said, it's a function of, but it's a function of our society and its caste system. You subconsciously, or the community, and this could be your school, this could be your neighborhood, this could be your entire people. We put certain people above other people. And you feed into it. And you internalize it. And instead of saying, I'm not going to feed into it, I'm not going to internalize it, that shit don't matter to me. We ingest it. And now we're resentful of people who symbolize a system we can't even control.
Facts.
And I'm on the real quick, I'm back on the girls comment, and I'm just processing it. I'm just like, if that wasn't just a hating comment, it was just a straight hater comment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not no proclaimed beehive person or whatever, but I do respect Beyonce as a woman, as a business person, everything else. And I'm reflecting back, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how does that statement hold any validity? Because I'm thinking back on her videos, I ain't seen no white person, you know what I'm saying, or whatever. And if it was, it still wasn't so frequently where it's something I remember. You know what I'm saying? When I think back on her videos, I think back on the hood black cars. You know what I'm saying? I've always felt like she's had the grills, she's had the braids. Like, I feel like she's definitely always been about the culture. But I'm just like, it's just, but that's what I'm talking about with that self-hate thing. Like, you just always trying to talk down on people. That's it. Go ahead.
And I mean, even I think from a just critiquing, like, I even with those conversations, with those comments, people look at the systemic, systemically how, she benefits from this system, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you get to billionaire status, you know what I'm saying, what that looks like, and even Disney. And we're at that point now where we can pick apart every aspect of a person's business, what they do, how they do, and really look at it. And I think that's what it hurts us at the same time. It allows us to see that there's no veil no more. So, you know what I'm saying, to do good and to prosper, I think it shows people both the flip side to success. Because in this country, with success as a Black person, it comes a responsibility of now having to be a voice for more than just yourself.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So motherfuckers now is realizing like that with whatever you're doing comes an accountability for the people that look like you. You know what I'm saying? And I think like even you look at a Lizzo, you know what I'm saying, and her rise, you know what I mean? Like, and I think the more we start to break down these barriers, motherfuckers will see that at the core of it, when you're an artist, when you're doing things with the right intentions, when you loving people the right way, like, yeah, Beyonce and Lizzo, they fuck with each other. So why we mad?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about something Crystal said when she was talking about, back in the day, Beyonce had the grill and the, the old school car, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
She was always for the culture. Well, and it just hit me. You're absolutely right? But going back to colorism and that being a societal spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. That kind of hood shit isn't qualified for enlightenment and leadership when it comes to what we want out of our community leaders, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't have no old school car. You can't be no hood trap nigga. You can't be that kind of nigga, because that kind of nigga is put in a lower caste than what we expect from our leaders, quote unquote. You know what I'm saying? And so Beyonce has always been Black, but now her Blackness is under scrutiny because the shit she was doing before wasn't of value. So nobody paid attention to it. Right?
Supposedly, yep.
Exactly. Nobody paid attention to it. But how is that not just as important, just as an important aspect of our culture as anything else you're talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can be, woke, enlightened, whatever the fuck, but that hood shit, that's where all that genius come from.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but it's like when you move into that space, and Beyonce is not dark skinned, obviously, but I know and Fu, you can probably speak to it, for a lot of dark skinned niggas, when you move to that space, to this upper air, you gotta completely disassociate with all of that shit.
Yeah.
Like to the point where if I do it, it can be novelty. It can be cool. It can be an edge to it. You know what I'm saying? It's cool. You know what I'm saying? Fool can't fuck with none of it. You gotta not know about any of it.
Yeah. And I think that's some of that. Again, you talk about that posture. You know what I'm saying? Right. Like what we have to do to meet success, to greet it and to actually hold it. Because when I came, I was 24 years old doing the leadership program in the city. And at the time, I was, just had launched my book, had my platform going. But I'm coming into, meetings, leadership meetings with dashikis on. I'm clean as hell. I'm Atlanta fresh. You know what I'm saying? But I'm in here with old white money, old, Alabama money, that's looking at this young Black man, wondering what the fuck I'm doing here and how to get me up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they don't know why. Like I wasn't coming in politically. I wasn't coming. So they're like, what do you want? And why are you moving here? So when you think about that, it's like, the way Beyonce, the awareness, right? She knows she could do that. Beyonce is aware that she can actually bring the culture to these spaces, to these white spaces where other artists can't. Mm-hmm. And she's been verbal about that, actually. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's something for me, and I challenge a lot of us, especially Black men. I think I'm glad you touched on that, Mike, because I see a lot of times Black women are the ones who take a lot of the risk there to bring their intrinsic selves into these spaces. Absolutely. Where a lot of times for us, you see a lot of token niggas that be like, man, I'm just out here for myself. I got to do this, that, and the third. When I know for me, like I literally have had to take hit L's and bullets so that these young people can understand that you can have a master's, you can have degrees, you can be hood as fuck, you can be articulate as fuck, and you can go in the mayor's office and they can respect the fuck out you, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but that's come with some hurt. But what we don't do, we don't normalize the shit. We don't normalize the idea of bringing all of yourself into the world. And that's what I love the artistry for, the creative aspect of it, is because that's what we got to do with all of our professions. How are you bringing all of yourself? Like, Mike, you talk about it like, nigga, that ain't some shit a hotel manager will be doing, bro. Like, you innovated in a way, like, niggas weren't thinking about that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's the idea of what colorism and privilege can do. I know that in these white spaces, I can do this hood shit because I built a rapport with them. Like, so it's some other hood ass niggas that I brought into these spaces that they more articulate than me, and they like, damn, okay, it's more of y'all. You're not a unicorn. No, I'm not. Like, it ain't just, it's hella Beyonce's out here. It's hella, you know what I'm saying? We're not one-offs. And I think that's the thing with us black people. We got to start othering people because it's the idea that all of us aren't great. All of us aren't stars. All of us aren't celebrities. Like, I think that's the pool again. Like, we got to get back to that point. And you know, it's tough because at the end of the day, like, who takes the challenge? Who takes that risk? Who takes those L's? You know what I'm saying? We love to talk about it, but I think that's the thing, like asking yourself, what is your privilege? Like, what is your privilege and how can you use it? You know what I'm saying? For good. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's some shit that we don't talk enough about. It's like, even for me, it's like, I want people to understand that I know I got privilege. I'm black as fuck in Alabama, like, with these white folk. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I be walking around here with my chest held out. And I know that's not something that most of my niggas, like, they don't feel comfortable doing that. Like, downtown or any proximity with these folks. Like, so for me to do that and know that I can articulate what they feel on calls about police budgets, on calls with city council, doing certain shit, like, that is that's an absolute privilege. So I think, you know, when we talk about those things, like, I think that's what we got to start challenging each other to really see, okay, how can we get uncomfortable and break down our personal shit so that we can start to step out here and speak up for light-skinned niggas? Like, because I know for me, I was a cool kid. I was the most popular kid in school. Like, but I wasn't necessarily the aesthetic. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had body issues, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it was like, it goes back to that intrinsic shit. What are the spaces that are affirming your identity outside of a collective blackness? That it's some spaces that had to see fufu. They didn't see, you know what I'm saying, most likely to succeed. They didn't see, you know, star football player, star, you know, good student. They didn't see all that shit. They saw fufu. So
but my question to you is, bro, what kind of popular were you? Because you know it's different kinds of popular.
Yeah, so that's another thing. So the idea of I was the bully, but I didn't bully. I ran with the bullies, but I didn't bully. So it's the idea of it be like, you know, say if you can be a king, like, but you know what I'm saying, like, but not lose the common touch. Like, knowing that I had the ability to inflict pain and harm on people, but understanding, like, I was also in the gifted classes. I was with the geeks and the nerds. I was the geek and the nerd. I just, after school, I was in the street. So I think it was that idea. I didn't other myself. Like, I know, when I was in, like, when I had to leave class and go to the other class for the whole day, I was like, all right, my niggas, I see y'all niggas after school. I didn't shy away from the fact that, like, no, I had to be at the house. So for me, I think the popular that I was a popular that showed everybody else that, like, hey, you can come over here and be with us too. Like, you can sit with us. Like, it was cool. It was all right to sit with us. And I think that's some of the growth too, because I can't always say that was me. I can't always say I was, you know what I'm saying, as aware as I am now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hurt some motherfuckers. I did some shit too. So I think in my growth, it goes back to that accountability piece. Like, in my growth, I had to understand that, okay, if I've been the hunter the whole time, but in my own personal life, I felt like prey with my people and my family and my community and different shit. So I know in these social circles, I had to take that collective awareness and add it to now, how do I take this comfort of me knowing that, like, I can run shit and take shit and advocate for people who can't. It was always about, like, now, okay, we know how to do this shit. So, like, let everybody be okay.
Crystal,
like, you know what I'm saying? It was like,
Crystal, I'm interested in your take on the kind of popularity, just being a black woman, being a brown skinned girl. You know what I'm saying? Like how much did that play into your not necessarily, maybe not even dating life, but, you know, your skin color being a plus, be a negative. You know, because I can kind of see you being light enough to where you're acceptable, but, you know, you're also being dark enough to where, like, you know, you can be a sister type shit. You know what I'm saying? And the people kind of play that with you, like, you know,
I think you described that perfectly. I do feel like for me, I was in the middle where I was able to be cool with, you know what I'm saying, everybody per se or whatever. But then you also still felt that privilege of knowing because I'm still a lighter skin. You know what I'm saying? You just get by with a lot more. You get treated still differently. You know, and one of the things I wanted to talk about that kind of goes back into this is in my first master's program, you know, my first master's is in child and adolescence. And I remember one of the research that we studied, it talked about how people, particularly kids at the time, are more acceptable to more attractive people. And it stuck with me. And then from there, you got to then research what is defined as attractive, right? Yeah. And of course, it goes down to the fairer skin. And so in my head, that stuck with me for a long time because I've always felt like, well, because I have lighter skin, I will always have at least a foot in the door. You know what I'm saying? Like and that's that privilege, that's the systemic privilege that you're talking about, where it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, and I think about my darker skinned friends, and I think about the names they had to be called or endured as joking or whatever. And it's like, you know, light-skinned people get called jokey names, but it's never something that's so demeaning. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's rooted in this white shit. It's rooted in this white, like that darky ass, yo black ass, yo dirty ass, yo like
yo dusty, like
black to dirt, black to dirt,
You don't realize, like, you know what I'm saying, like, and as kids, you really don't even realize like where you even got that language from to even call, you know what I'm saying, your peers that. And like Mike, I heard you say in the beginning, like, you know, for a light-skinned person, they might be called, you know, white boy. But of course, that's still not necessarily like the worst thing as being called, you know what I'm saying, something of the darker skin. So, you know, it's when you really sit down and observe how far back it goes and how instilled in us it is, that is not something that we just pick up on in adult life. Some kind of way we're picking this up as kids.
Yeah. The anti-blackness, and then you think about to our households, like our mamas having to raise us, and then a lot of times it being in the wake of dealing with a partner who, you know what I'm saying, got shit going on. So a lot of that shit gets, you know what I'm saying, projected onto the child. Like, you know what I'm saying, like if you the spitting image of your daddy and your daddy won't work for fuck and your mama ain't healed, again, what you gonna be? You gonna be the sorry son of a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You're going, a lot of times that's how these generational, you know what I'm saying, this generational trauma just continues to persist. And so you have a generation of men who now are raised up with these mommy issues, and that's something else I think on the next one we can talk about. Like, you know what I'm saying, more about this shit is how this shit manifests into the partners that we choose and the standards that we set around beauty in our own community. And I got a black daughter, and that's something her mama high yellow, her mama might color. So before she was born, again, we're having conversations about like how her family treated her better than all the other dark-skinned kids, and how with this one, I wish y'all motherfuckers would. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a real education, as I know she's gonna have 4C hair. I know she's going to, you know what I'm saying, have certain features. I know, you know what I'm saying? I know this is gonna be her reality in Alabama. So if she's gonna be here, sure enough, I'm gonna have to give her an uber amount of confidence, an uber amount of self-esteem, positivity, uplift, identity, because at the end of the day, she is a black woman. You know what I'm saying? In the deep South. You know what I'm saying? So like when we talk about these things, I think it's really real for us to contextualize what this shit looks like in our communities. You know what I'm saying?
I remember being maybe about 9. I was with my granny now. I was with all my cousins and I remember this shit kind of clicking to what Crystal said. They was on me about, you know, I don't know, white boy shit, whatever the fuck. And I remember thinking like, I just kind of let them go, and the insults turned into damn near compliments, right? You know what I'm saying? Like you teasing me. I'm a white boy because of my skin color, cool. But then you teasing me because I like to read. You teasing me because, and not that I felt at the time, but it was like I'm gonna grow up thinking I'm better than something. So like you teasing me about elevation. And I remember at 9, and not that thinking, you know, you better than anybody's a good thing, but I remember thinking at 9, like, okay, like, like, you know what I'm saying? But again, when you talk about if you're gonna get on somebody dark for their skin color, it's never a compliment.
Yeah.
It's never a compliment. It's always the crust, the dirt, the dusty, the, you know what I'm saying? You know, the ground, the tar, you know, whatever fuck it is you want to talk about, it's always that. So even like you said, even the insults, because even when you listen to light-skinned folks, I got picked on because they thought I was better than they were.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's an insult, but nigga, that's a backhanded compliment. The fact that they view you at a higher air than what they currently are. Now, I'm not saying it's not hurtful, because again, you want to be included. I'm not saying that. But you got to look at, even in that verbiage, how they're projecting who you are compared to who they are.
Yeah. And I think people not realizing, like, colorism is the step down from racism, right? I think about like how we go back to being a Black woman. And I know when we look at white women and we look at how they can go out and they can just throw their hair up and dress, you know, whatever, and it doesn't look like bombish, it just looks like, oh, you're shabby chic, or, you know, whatever, right? A white woman can do her natural curly hair and have it, whatever, and it's like, okay, queen, you know, whatever. But then when a Black woman does it, it's automatically nappy. It's nappy. You got this. It's dry. You know what I mean? And we don't realize that what we're doing, and that's what you were saying in the beginning, Mike. It's systemic. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we're not realizing. Like, and we're doing the job for them.
Yeah, it's that standard, and I love it because, like, when we talk about Beyonce and the symbolism, right? I think it's the idea of us reclaiming our beauty standards. You know what I'm saying? I know some of my people give me hell for why I be naked on the internet. Like, but
if it's one thing you gonna do, Fool gonna be on that.
I'm gonna have my shirt off.
Fool gonna be on that story, and it's gonna be one of two ways. He gonna be in that car pulling on that head wrap, cussing, or he gonna be outside with his motherfucking shirt off.
Yeah. But you know, but I love this because I can be intentional and let people understand that. Like, I've learned from Black women, right? So the idea of healing being out loud, and the fact that, like, nigga, I've grown with body issues my entire life. You know what I'm saying? Body dysmorphia because of my chest. You know what I'm saying? Gynoplasty. It's an actual condition. But the fact that, like, there are conversations that we don't have because, again, we don't talk about the shit that comes from things that we internalize that are anti-Black. The fact that my mom shamed me around me having my shirt off, but I'm a linebacker, nigga. I play football. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm not used to clothing like that. So I've had to work through my body image issues and certain things around what's acceptable for me and what's acceptable for my peers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the shit. It's the idea that, if I want to have my shirt off, I'm gonna have my shirt off. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've had to sit with these things and these ideas of what beauty, even for me as a Black man, is. You know what I'm saying? With myself. Like, what's my own personal standard of what I feel like is acceptable for me to show myself as? Because I know personally, ain't nobody tripping off my body. You know what I'm saying?
But you supposed to be, fool. You supposed to be a motherfucking Adonis.
You feel what I'm saying?
You know, dark skinned niggas. You supposed to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you feel what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's like, nigga, I am. It's just in my own right, right? You know what I'm saying? It ain't 8-pack. It ain't, you know what I'm saying? I got some little handles, but you know what I'm saying? But I'm proud of my masculinity. I've had to work to become proud of my own masculinity in that version. So as Black niggas, we don't talk about that. Like, I know I've made like a lot of my niggas be like, bruh, why you got your shirt off all the time? Why you got bruh? And I'm like, my nigga. Like, I'm comfortable with that. I have a daughter who, at the end of the day, like, I've had to teach about what it means to be comfortable with her own body because I'm an athlete. We work out together. Like, she has workout clothes. Like, we do different things. Whereas on her mother, I can't control what her mother got going on, her own personal issues and how they project. But I know for me, I've had to heal so that with her, now I'm showing her that as a Black, brown-skinned girl that, hey, you're absolutely gorgeous and there's nothing wrong with your body whatsoever. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's that part where in the colorism, in the racism, we have to start to break it down and educate ourselves as how to love just Black, like, period.
Yeah.
This is a good talk.
Yeah. We hit that.
So this is like part one of like a 10-part series. Nigga. We gotta talk about this shit a lot more. It's layers to this shit. But
So
especially with the Creole shit, we talking about culture.
Oh
nigga. Yeah.
And
the mulatto shit.
Also mentioned was the talk about the spouse, like choosing the spouse with the different colorism
and having that baby.
What
kind of baby you want to have?
That light skin.
That light skin baby.
I'm talking about for real, boy. Like we
that light skin baby.
Yeah. Motherfuckers be really out here on some like matching breeding shit. Like, let me get me a nigga, or let me get me a motherfucker to have me some. Man, look. Yeah, it's real. It's real.
We can go there. We got a lot of shit to talk about on volume 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. For real.
Fact.
For real. So for those of y'all who don't know, the first time we were trying to be mindful of the time. We wanted to hit about an hour. We only went maybe like 2 minutes over, so we all
we in the game.
So again, just to give y'all some like clarification, who you listening to right now are going to be the main voices of the podcast. This is the podcast right here. We'll bring different people on. I got to get my nigga Josh on, you know what I'm saying? Got to get Maria to come back home, you know what I'm saying? Bunch of other motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Who like we gonna need their voice. But like this is it. So what we doing right now is we're just building chemistry. We're practicing topics. We're going over dynamics. I'm figuring out what works, what doesn't work. Again, me and Fool, both football players. This is film review. This is, you know what I'm saying? This is scrimmaging. So it's a lot of things. I'm glad, we've got number positive feedback. So I'm glad you all enjoy the shit. I love it. But this is really rough draft. Not even rough draft. This is like outline kind of shit we're doing right now. Because I want to get the podcast as raw as possible. Everybody and their mama got a motherfucking podcast now. Everybody just motherfucking throwing them up. And I,
experience, nigga.
and a lot of motherfuckers be sending me their podcast. I'm gonna tell you, bitch ass niggas, something. A lot of niggas be sending me their podcast. Don't nobody ever invite me to be on them. You know what I'm saying? You want me to listen to the shit, but I can't ever be on the shit. Like, damn, hey, you scared, nigga.
They scared.
You scared I might say some shit. Niggas, man. You know what I'm saying? You goddamn niggas be sending me podcasts left and right. Listen to my shit. I be like, damn, nigga, you 8 episodes in, my nigga. God damn, I can't get no love, nigga. God damn.
Look, niggas, look, Death Row can't get no love from the East Coast niggas.
Free Roots can't get no love from the podcast. Spotify, nigga.
Hey man, look, don't worry. I've been talking my shit all Leo season, nigga. Exactly. We coming for everybody food, nigga. I don't give a fuck, nigga. We coming for your shit. We trying to take it all, nigga. We gonna start recording the podcast this fall. Come hell or the hot water. Ain't nobody on this team got the corona. So, I'm gonna just shoot down there and we're just gonna start recording that bitch. We still gotta hold off on the live sessions, unfortunately, but we can definitely get the podcast rolling. So we're working on that. That's what y'all supporting with the t-shirts and the ad space and all that kind of shit. It's allowed me to do. It's allowed me to break my people off a little bit too. So again, we definitely love and support y'all, or love and appreciate y'all support. And again, I wanted to do this YouTube shit so y'all can see the process unfold. So, I definitely want everybody out there that's watching to feel like they're a part of it, because y'all are. We wouldn't be doing this shit. I wouldn't have called these folks if y'all didn't keep pushing me to do it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like y'all are definitely, whoever out there supporting and watching, y'all are definitely a huge part of getting all of this done. So we want y'all to see, like, if this shit blow up and we end up
I knew them back when.
Yeah, exactly. You can,
ain't no if, nigga.
Yeah, you can pull up these crusty ass YouTube videos. I'm in this motherfucker looking like a hostage because I ain't got no background. Like, you can look up all that shit, man.
Yeah, we got you.
So we're gonna be back next week though, because Crystal still think niggas ain't forgot. You owe us a motherfucking
part 2. I thought we was doing part 2.
You owe us a motherfucking topic, nigga.
Yeah.
You owe us a motherfucking topic. I don't give a fuck if it's about
spicy
Real Housewives of
Detroit.
Detroit.
I told y'all what it was.
What? Which one was
it? And you said it was heavy, but we was gonna do it.
Yeah. What was it though?
It was about hold on, I'm pulling it back up. It was good, y'all. Hold on. Oh, I'm back at the beginning. I gotta find it. I know it was about how Black fathers' emotions and surrounding like the death of the child, the loss of the child. But it was some other stuff too, though. The parental roles, you know, being the stereotypical parental roles and stuff like that.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
She can't hold it. She can't hold it.
Okay. Yeah, she came with it. Okay. She didn't.
I still want some ratchet shit though. I want to make some ratchet shit.
Yeah. We
should do a break. We should do an intermission for a ratchet.
We should.
I be on all that shit with all the young niggas, all the young rappers, nigga. Makes sense of some of this shit, man.
Yeah, cause that's how the podcast gonna be. Like, I don't want you to think it's gonna be all heavy shit. Like, I'm not no all heavy.
I want to talk about Lil Baby too, shit.
Yeah. Fuck it. I know niggas be thinking it's gonna be the goddamn, you know, it's gonna be Alex Haley up in this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right. Hey, it ain't, right? It ain't, bro. We gonna talk our shit, man, for real.
Yeah.
So we gonna get out of here, man. Again, appreciate y'all listening live. Appreciate y'all if y'all took some time out later on to come back and listen to it. We appreciate y'all. We're gonna see y'all in a week. Definitely catch us on the gram at the trap there _ the trap therapist at Let's Be Crystal Clear. If you on here, you already follow at the free roots _ project. So we'll fuck with y'all, man. We appreciate y'all and love y'all.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Yeah.